If you can't control your emotions, people will control you. Most people believe respect is earned through status, intelligence, influence, or the ability to speak louder than everyone else. But psychology reveals something far more surprising. In many situations, the people who command the most respect are not the most dominant in the room. They are the ones who understand a silent behavior that shapes how others perceive them from the very first interaction. A behavior so subtle that most people never notice it, yet so powerful that it can transform relationships, social dynamics, professional environments, and even the way strangers respond to you. Welcome to a space dedicated to understanding the human mind and modern emotions, helping people better understand anxiety, relationships, and their inner thoughts. Here, we explore the hidden psychological mechanisms behind human behavior, personality traits, emotional patterns, social interactions, and personal development. If you have ever felt overlooked, underestimated, ignored, disrespected, or frustrated because people fail to recognize your value, this video will help you understand why that happens and, more importantly, what can be done about it. If you stay until the end, you will discover the silent behavior that commands respect almost instantly, the psychological reasons people unconsciously respond to it, the common mistakes that cause others to lose respect for us without saying a single word, and how subtle changes in your behavior can completely alter the way people perceive your confidence, authority, and presence. Because the real issue is not how much you demand respect from others. It is the signals your behavior sends before you ever speak. And most people spend their entire lives unaware of those signals. Have you ever reached the end of the day feeling completely drained, even though nothing particularly bad happened? No major argument, no crisis, no disaster. Yet somehow your mind feels heavy, your patience is shorter, and even simple conversations start to feel exhausting. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. One of the biggest psychological burdens people carry today isn't caused by dramatic events. It's caused by hundreds of small emotional experiences that quietly pile up throughout the day without being noticed. Think about it. You check your phone and see someone else's success. You send a message and wait longer than expected for a reply. Someone responds with a different tone than usual. A coworker ignores your suggestion. A friend seems distant. None of these moments seem important on their own. But your brain doesn't simply discard them. It stores them, analyzes them, and often keeps processing them in the background long after you've moved on. The strange part is that most people believe they're reacting to what happened today. In reality, they're often reacting to emotional residue that has been building for days, weeks, or even months. That's why a small inconvenience can suddenly feel overwhelming. It's not the inconvenience itself. It's the invisible weight already sitting underneath it. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The behavior that causes people to lose energy, confidence, and even respect without realizing it often starts in this exact mental state. Not during major life events. Not during moments of obvious stress. But during these ordinary moments that seem too small to matter. Because when emotional pressure stays unnoticed long enough, it begins influencing your behavior in ways that are almost impossible to detect at first. And that's where the real pattern begins. What most people don't realize is that respect is rarely determined by what you say. Long before words enter the conversation, your brain is already sending signals through your behavior. And the surprising part is that these signals are often created automatically, without any conscious decision from you. When people feel emotionally overloaded, uncertain, or constantly worried about how they're being perceived, the brain starts searching for safety. On the surface, that sounds harmless. But in social situations, this often creates a hidden pattern that changes the way others respond to you. Think about the last time you explained yourself too much. Maybe you justified a decision that didn't really require justification. Maybe you apologized repeatedly for something minor. Maybe you felt the need to make sure everyone understood your intentions. In that moment, your brain wasn't trying to communicate. It was trying to reduce uncertainty. It wanted reassurance that everything was okay. The problem is that people often interpret that behavior very differently. Human beings constantly make unconscious judgments based on emotional signals. When someone appears overly concerned with gaining approval, others instinctively sense hesitation beneath the words. Not because the person is weak, but because uncertainty tends to reveal itself through small behaviors. Over-explaining, seeking validation, filling every silence, or rushing to defend choices that were never under attack in the first place. The hidden mechanism is that the brain believes more explanation creates more control. But in social reality, it often creates the opposite effect. The more someone feels the need to constantly prove themselves, the more attention shifts away from their message and toward their insecurity. And once this pattern becomes habitual, it starts influencing friendships, relationships, work environments, and even brief everyday interactions in ways most people never connect back to their own behavior. That's where an even deeper pattern begins to emerge. And this is where the consequences start showing up in real life, often without people realizing what's actually happening. The brain's constant search for approval doesn't stay hidden inside your thoughts. Eventually, it begins shaping your behavior. You become slightly more cautious with your opinions. You hesitate before expressing disagreement. You start adjusting your words based on what you think others want to hear. At first, these changes seem small. Most people barely notice them. But over time, they create a version of you that feels less authentic and less certain of its own value. What's fascinating is that people around you respond to these subtle shifts immediately, even if they can't explain why. Human beings are constantly reading emotional cues. They notice who trusts their own judgment and who seems to be waiting for permission. They notice who can tolerate disagreement and who becomes uncomfortable when approval isn't guaranteed. These signals influence social dynamics far more than appearance, status, or even communication skills. This is why some people walk into a room and naturally hold attention without demanding it, while others feel overlooked despite trying harder. It's not always confidence in the traditional sense. It's the absence of behaviors that quietly communicate self-doubt. When someone constantly seeks reassurance, others often begin unconsciously placing less weight on their opinions. Not out of cruelty, but because certainty tends to feel more convincing than constant justification. The most difficult part is that this process usually happens so gradually that people blame the wrong things. They assume they're being ignored because they're not interesting enough, attractive enough, successful enough, or outgoing enough. Meanwhile, the real issue may be hidden inside dozens of small daily behaviors that slowly shape how others perceive their presence. And once you see this pattern clearly, another question naturally appears. If these signals can lower respect without you noticing, what specific behavior creates the opposite effect almost instantly? Your brain doesn't respond only to what's happening right now. In many situations, it's responding to emotional experiences that were never fully processed in the first place. That's what makes this pattern so difficult to recognize. When someone constantly seeks reassurance, over-explains themselves, or feels uncomfortable when others seem distant, the reaction often has less to do with the present moment and more to do with emotional memories that are quietly influencing the situation from behind the scenes. Think about how many people grew up learning that acceptance had to be earned. Maybe they were praised only when they performed well. Maybe they learned to avoid conflict to keep relationships stable. Maybe they spent years trying to prevent criticism, rejection, or disappointment. Over time, the brain begins creating a simple rule. If people approve of me, I'm safe. If they don't, something must be wrong. The problem is that this rule doesn't disappear when life changes. It follows people into adulthood, shaping conversations, relationships, and social behavior in ways that feel completely normal. This is why a delayed text message can sometimes create anxiety that seems larger than the situation itself. It's why a brief disagreement can feel surprisingly personal. It's why some people struggle to let misunderstandings go, even when everyone else has already moved on. The present event activates older emotional patterns, and the brain reacts as if it's protecting you from something much bigger than what's actually happening. What makes this even more powerful is that emotional memory doesn't always show up as a clear recollection. Most of the time, it appears as a feeling of needing reassurance, a feeling of needing to explain, a feeling that silence means something is wrong. And because these reactions happen automatically, people rarely question where they're coming from. But hidden inside this process is the exact reason why certain individuals command respect without chasing it, and why one simple behavioral shift can completely change the signals they send to the world. The moment you begin noticing these patterns instead of automatically following them, something interesting starts to happen. Not because you've suddenly become more confident, and not because you've discovered a secret formula for earning respect. The change begins because you stop treating every emotional reaction as a command that must be obeyed. For many people, this is the first time they realize that feeling uncertain and acting uncertain are two completely different things. The silent behavior that commands respect instantly isn't dominance, aggression, or pretending not to care. It's the ability to remain grounded when your mind wants immediate reassurance. It's being comfortable enough with your own perspective that you don't feel the need to constantly defend it. It's allowing silence to exist without rushing to fill it. It's accepting that not every disagreement requires an explanation, not every misunderstanding requires a defense, and not every moment of distance means rejection. What's fascinating is that people often think respect comes from adding something to their personality. In reality, it frequently comes from removing behaviors that communicate unnecessary doubt. The less energy you spend chasing validation, the more present you become. The more present you become, the more naturally others respond to your words, your decisions, and your presence. This doesn't happen overnight. The brain rarely abandons old emotional habits instantly, but awareness changes the process. Once you recognize how often your actions are driven by the need for certainty, you start seeing choices where before there were only reactions. And that shift alone can quietly transform the way you move through conversations, relationships, and everyday life. Because respect is rarely created by what people think about you. More often, it begins with what your behavior communicates before a single word is spoken. Maybe the most interesting part about human behavior is that we often spend years trying to understand how others see us, while rarely observing the signals we unconsciously send. Every reaction, every pause, every attempt to prove ourselves, and every moment of silence carries a message that exists beyond words. The human mind is constantly trying to protect us, but sometimes the same patterns created to keep us safe can quietly shape the way we connect with the world. The desire to be accepted can become the reason we hide parts of ourselves. The fear of being misunderstood can become the reason we explain too much. The search for respect can sometimes become the very thing that makes us chase approval. And perhaps the most surprising discovery is that people are not always responding to our intentions. They are responding to the emotional signals they experience when they are around us. Before they understand our story, our struggles, or everything we carry internally, they first encounter the way our behavior communicates. Human psychology is filled with these invisible connections. Small moments creating bigger patterns. Quiet emotions influencing visible actions. Past experiences shaping present interactions without asking for permission. And maybe understanding ourselves is not about becoming a completely different person. Maybe it is about finally noticing the hidden parts of our behavior that have been speaking for us all along. Because sometimes the most powerful changes in human life don't begin when we say something new. They begin when we finally understand what we have been communicating without realizing it. If you stayed with me until the end of this video, it means you're someone who doesn't just want quick answers. You want to understand the deeper patterns behind human behavior and the way the mind works. If this video made you see yourself or your relationships in a different way, take a moment to leave a comment below and write, "I understand myself better." Your comment helps this community grow and shows that these conversations about psychology and human behavior matter. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to continue exploring the hidden mechanisms behind emotions, relationships, personality, and everyday decisions. Also, leave a like if this content brought you value, because it helps this video reach more people who may be experiencing the same struggles silently. And before you leave, click on the video appearing on the card on your screen. There is another psychological topic waiting for you that connects directly with what we discussed today. You can also explore the full playlist on human behavior and emotional patterns to continue understanding the invisible forces that influence your thoughts, actions, and relationships. Thank you for staying until the end. Keep observing your mind, because understanding yourself is where every meaningful change begins.